Hi, I'm John Maxwell. When the top companies in the world are looking for trainers, speakers, and coaches, there's one name that stands above the rest, and that's Maxwell Leadership. Our certified team members have gotten proven results for companies all over the globe, and our reputation, I'm proud to say, is second to none. Some of our members have risen to the top of their profession, including the one you're going to meet today. I proudly introduce you to my friend Bob Fabian Zinka.
Welcome to the Leadership and Success Podcast with your host, Coach BZ, where we help you lead with purpose and succeed with impact. If you're ready to grow into the kind of leader others want to follow, this podcast is for you. If you're determined to elevate your success and leave a lasting legacy, this podcast is for you. As my mentor, Dr. John C. Maxwell reminds us, everything rises and falls on leadership. Our goal is simple: to inspire you, challenge you, and equip you with insights that can transform the trajectory of your leadership journey. Welcome aboard to another episode of the Leadership and Success Podcast with Coach B.
All right, first I must say thank you so much for bearing with me. I don't know why this is the third time I am recording live now. The first two times, for some reason, I lost the sound. So it looks like everything is working fine. I can hear myself. And again, thank you for watching this very special edition of the Leadership and Success Podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about Proverbs chapter 22. So it seems like there's going to be a lot of leadership insights and lessons from this chapter that is going to help a whole lot of people. Maybe that's why I'm having a little challenge with the technology today. It's never happened before. But anyway, we are live now on LinkedIn and on YouTube. And for those listening, I really appreciate your patience and bearing with me. Please let us know where you are joining us from, what city, what state, and if outside of the US, which country, and also what you are grateful for today. Which reminds me, we are going to do our moment of gratitude in just a moment. And I also would like to know if you guys have any insight from Proverbs chapter 22. Today is January the 22nd, and for the month of January, we're going to go through the entire book of Proverbs. I like the Maxwell Leadership Bible because it has a lot of Bible insights and articles throughout the entire Bible showing you the leadership principle. This is the second book in our curriculum this season, 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. What are the laws of leadership? What are the principles? Even written more than 2,000 years ago, right, that you can still apply today. They are still relevant, and they're going to help you become better leader and achieve greater level of success. So we're going to be starting in just a moment. Before we do, I'm reminded to do our moment of gratitude. So this is where we take just a moment to reflect about what we are grateful for every time we meet. So if you would maybe close your eyes, take a deep breath, put yourself in your happy place. For me, it's almost always right there by the beach. Look at the white sand, the ocean, the waves, the breeze, the sun shining bright, and the clouds. And it's a place where I always feel very comfortable. I feel like I belong. I feel like I'm living my life on purpose, just appreciating nature. So today I am really grateful for the small things in life. I don't drink coffee, but I love the smell of coffee in the morning, the smell of flowers. And I'm looking outside my window right now, and I see the grass is green, and it's so beautiful, especially in Northern California. For a long time, we've had issues with water, and our grass pretty much turned brown all over the Bay Area. And I'm just so glad that it is green again, luscious green, and just beautiful to see the tree, the birds in the sky, and it is just beautiful to see. So I am grateful for the small things in life, and grateful that I'm still in the land of the living. I am still alive today. All right, so let us know what you are grateful for. So before we get into Proverbs chapter 22, which is today's lesson, let's get a brief overview of what we did yesterday. So a recap of a 7 leadership lesson from Proverbs chapter 21. Leadership lesson number one. Yesterday we talked about God directs the hearts of leaders. So that was based on Proverbs 21, verse 1. So even the most powerful leaders are not autonomous, right? Authority is entrusted, not owned. I remember what General Biggles taught me. He said that rank is rented, but trust is earned. What a powerful statement. So God shapes outcomes by shaping hearts first. So listen, number two, we talked about intention are not enough because God weighs the motives. That was based on verse number 2. So self justification is a leadership blind spot. And motive matters as much as execution. It's not just what you do, but why you do what you do as a leader. That's really what counts because God evaluates integrity beneath performance. All right, leadership lesson number 3. Yesterday we talked about righteousness outweigh ritual. That's based on verse 3. Ethical leadership surpasses symbolic gesture. Don't just do things because you think it's expected of you, but do things because they are aligned with your core value. Act with conviction. Because God values obedience over just the optics. Right? Integrity is the foundation of lasting trust. Um, Leadership lesson number 4. Pride is a leadership liability. That was based on verse number 4. Pride corrupts judgment and culture, but unchecked ego creates moral decay. But humility will keep the soul of leadership fertile. Lead with humility. Leadership lesson number 5. So, diligent planning builds sustainable success. Vision requires discipline, execution. And rush decision will undermine long term impact. And faith and planning work together. Faith and planning. All right. Leadership lesson number 6. Yesterday we talked about shortcuts destroy credibility. That was based on verse 6. Integrity violation eventually surface. An ethical shortcut will erode trust and legacy, but truth will sustain influence over time. All right, the last lesson we learned yesterday, lesson number 7, is justice is a leader's shield. That was based on verse 15. Justice will create clarity and confidence. And fair leadership strengthens organizational culture. So accountability protects the mission. So that's what we learned yesterday about Proverbs chapter 21. So today we're going to start on Proverbs chapter 22. Now, um, let's talk about the big idea here. So in chapter 22, Proverbs 22 teaches that leadership is built on reputation, humility, discipline, foresight, and intentional influence. Again, reputation, humility, discipline, foresight, and intentional influence. Those are really the foundation of leadership, long lasting leadership, effective leadership. So, this chapter kind of shifts the focus from short term gain to long term legacy. Leadership that remains, that is still impactful and influential long after you are gone, right? Reminding leaders that how they live, how they lead, how they teach and prepare others will echo far beyond their tenure, long after you've left the job, even long after you have died. Your impact will remain, your influence will remain. Because true leadership success is not measured by wealth or by titles, but by character, by wisdom, and the lives shaped along the way. And again, I love this book, The 5 Levels of Leadership. It talks about level number 1 being positional leadership, right? And that one is really the lowest level of leadership possible, just your position. Like I said from the review from chapter 21, rank is rented, but trust is earned. Based on your rank, based on your position in the company, people are going to do what you say. They are going to follow you, but just because they need a paycheck. But what you want is to be so effective that they want to follow you, not just for the paycheck, but willingly, right? Because you are a person that deserves to be followed. And it goes through all the 5 levels of leadership, and the last one being the pinnacle. The highest leadership accomplishment is developing other leaders to level 4. That's pretty powerful. So it's not just you leading, and being a leader is not just having followers, right? But it's really having developing other leaders. That is really the essence of leadership. Because if you only have followers, maybe that makes you an influencer. But what you want is to be a leader, which means you have to procreate, develop other leaders, and bring them to your level. That's really where I believe you find fulfillment. You go from having personal success to significance because now you are helping other people find their way, become leader, and live out their own potential. And that is so powerful. All right. So the theme for chapter 22 is legacy leadership, right? It's character, preparation, and stewardship of influence. That is going to be the foundation for legacy leadership. Leadership that will outlast your title, your rank, or even your life. Okay, leadership lesson number one, character is a leader's greatest asset. That's based on verse 1. So let's listen to verse 1. Proverb 22, verse 1. Here we go.
A good name is to be chosen, rather than great riches, loving favor rather than silver and gold.
A good name. Wow. A good name. Value your name, value your reputation more than you do riches or title. Because reputation precedes authority. Leaders may inherit a role, but they must earn trust daily. Again, rank is rented, but trust is earned. So titles can open doors, but character will determine whether people will follow willingly. That is so important. When you become a leader, you don't just want people to follow you because they are afraid or because you might fire them and they depend on you for a paycheck, but they need to follow you willingly because you are the type of person they are willing to follow. They want to follow because of the kind of person you are. So, how do we apply this? Make decisions that protect credibility, even when it's costly, because your name is much more valuable than riches. Okay? Guard your name in private as fiercely as in public. Again, I've mentioned this before, but when it comes to ethics, I like to think about my grandmother. What would my grandmother think about the decision I am about to make when I think nobody is watching? Because I'm telling you, as a leader, somebody is always watching. And whatever is done in the darkness will eventually be brought to the light. So, what would you do if someone you respect, someone you loved, was watching you when you think nobody is watching? All right, choose integrity over expediency. All right, so what is your leadership reputation when you are not in the room? What do people say about you? Are there compromises you have normalized that erode trust? So, leadership influence flows from who you are before it flows from what you do. All right. Leadership lesson number 2, humility is the gateway to honor. Let's read verse 4.
By humility and the fear of the Lord are riches and honor and life.
Wow. If you want to be honored, if you want riches, if you want a great life, you have to be humble. Not arrogant, not proud, but humble. Lead with humility because pride will limit your learning, but humility will multiply your growth. Leaders who remain teachable, coachable, will outlast those who rely on ego. So, how do we apply this? Seek feedback, not flattery. From your direct reports, seek feedback. You need to have a group of people in your inner circle that can speak to you freely and always tell you the truth no matter what. They are not impressed by your title, they're not impressed by your work, but they can look at you and tell you, hey, Bob Zinga, busy. I think you are making the wrong call here. I think this is the wrong decision, and this is why. And your job is to just listen. Right? You may not agree with what they say, or you may not want to hear it, but you have to stop, listen, and then make up your mind. But always seek wisdom. Okay, lead with reverence, not entitlement. it's really a great privilege to be a leader. I've already had one of the greatest privilege of my life, being the commanding officer for the Navy Reserve Global Network Operations Security Center. That's the NASC that takes care of all of the communication throughout the entire United States when it comes to Navy communication. Very, very, very big job. I had about 72 people reporting to me, but that was such a great privilege to really serve my sailor. It's not them serving me, it's me serving them and making sure that we accomplish our mission, and I remove whatever blocks or challenges that they face, making sure they had the right education, qualification, training, and material to get the job done. There is a book I love about servant leadership. Actually, it's not about servant leadership per se, it is a novel. I usually do not read novels, but this one is really an exception because I love this is Gates of Fire by Stephen Pressfield. I love this one paragraph. It's on page 412 when a man is describing his king, how great of a servant leader this king is, and why his people followed him, right, to go to a fight where they knew they would probably lose. Chances were they weren't going to win this battle, but they were willing to follow this man to the gates of hell, right, gates of fire, and put their life on the line because of the kind of person this king was. So it says, it's the third paragraph on page 412. I will tell His Majesty what a king is. Because even the opponent, the king who actually won the battle, and he was like, what is wrong with this guy? Why in the world would he come to fight against me when I have a much powerful army? And why would this man follow him? No, to him, this was like a suicide mission. So he was just wondering, what kind of a king is this person that you guys just follow? So the servant says, a king does not abide within his tent while his men bleed and die upon the field. A king does not dine while his men go hungry, nor sleep when they stand at watch upon the wall. A king does not command his men's loyalty through fear, nor purchase it with gold. He earns their love by the sweat of his own back and the pains he endures for their sake. That which comprises the harshest burden. A king lives first and sets down last. A king does not require service of those he leads, but provides it to them. He serves them, not they him. That is the king. That is the leader. He is the servant leader. He lives his life in order to add value to his people, to the members of his team, not the other way around. If you are going to lead, you have to be humble and you have to value the people who work for you. Because like we say in the Navy, right? Mission first, but people always, because without my people, there is no way we can accomplish the mission. And when I became a commanding officer, I asked all of my previous mentors, hey, what do I need to know so that I am a successful commanding officer? One of them told me, take care of your people, because if you do, your people will then take care of the mission. Again, servant leadership. So model servant leadership, that is so important and critical. Lead with reverence, not entitlement. So where might pride be limiting your leadership growth today? And who has permission to challenge you? Again, don't be defensive whenever people challenge your assumption, because sometimes everybody has a blind spot, right? Sometimes we make false assumption. That's why you really need to have a diverse team. That's why I love diversity. It's not just about color, race, or gender, but it's the way people think, their educational background and different experiences, because you need people who have come from a completely different background than yours, because they know something that you don't know. They've experienced something that you haven't, and they have something to add, right, to your planning, to add to your mission. And you need to give them the opportunity to do that. People shouldn't be afraid to say what they think or to add value to the mission of the organization. So always be open to receive feedback, whether you like it or not. Just listen, and then you can make up your mind if you are going to follow their advice or not. But at least listen. So be humble enough to undo that, because we don't know everything. And one tip that keeps me humble is, no, the more I know, Now in my mid-40s, I know a lot more than I did when I was 17 or 20 years old. But the more I know, the more I am aware that I don't know everything. It seems like the more you know, the more you realize you don't know everything there is to know. There is just so much more to learn. So I am always, always open for feedback, because humility is not weakness, but it is discipline, strength under control. So let me know about your experience with that, if you have a story to share in the comment. But I think that is a major key. I think the highest position I ever had in the Navy as a commander was commanding officer, in charge of the mission of the Global Network Operation Security Center there in Suffolk, Virginia. But for the 2.5, 3 years that I was commanding officer, the number one lesson I learned throughout that entire experience is you have to lead with humility. Just because it's your dream job, just because you are the highest ranked officer in the entire command, doesn't mean that you don't listen to people. Because you do need to listen to people, even the lowest rank people within your command, because they have wisdoms that you do not have. Now, one case in point, I had a pretty serious problem, and I worked out with first my senior team and then my leadership team for like almost 60 days. We couldn't come up with a solution. And then I opened it up to the entire command, and a junior enlisted person, within like 5 minutes, he came up with a solution just like that. And we were able to apply it, and we saw great success. But that's something that even my chief, my XO, my department head couldn't come up with. But a junior enlisted person in the unit came up with a solution we so needed. And that solved a very important problem that would affect every member of my command. So you have to be open for feedback. That is so, so, so critical. Now, another example in the Navy, the senior enlisted member, E7, E8, E9, we call them the chief, senior chief, master chief. They've been mentoring me since I was an E1, right? The lowest rank in the Navy, seaman recruit. And all the way to O4, all of the junior officers are mentored by senior enlisted too. And once I became a commander, that was April of 2021. So almost 5 years ago. Now that I am a senior officer, I cannot say, hey, I have this big head now. I don't care about the chief anymore. Thank you so much for bringing me up to this level, but I'm going to take it from here. No. I've been mentored my entire life by chiefs. Even as a senior officer in the most powerful Navy in the world, I am still being mentored by chiefs right now. I reach out to them when I have to make critical decision. I definitely rely on them to take care of the white hats, right? All of the junior enlisted folks. Without them, it's simply impossible for me to accomplish the mission of my organization. Again, being humble, being teachable, being coachable. And it's not always about rank or title, but it's the wisdom that people have based on their experience. That is so powerful. All right. I could say more about that, but you get the gist. Lead with humility. That's really the number one lesson I've learned after being selected commanding officer in the U.S. Navy. You have to be humble. All right. Leadership lesson number 3. Wise leaders anticipate risk. So that's going to be based on verse 3. Let's listen to verse 3.
Thorns and snares are in the way of the perverse. He who guards his soul will be far from them. The rich and the poor have this. A prudent man foresees evil and hides himself, but the simple pass on and are punished.
The prudent man foresees evil. All right, wise leaders anticipate risk. So reactive leadership is expensive, but strategic leaders scan the horizon, identify threats early, and prepare before crisis strikes. Something Oprah said, I believe she learned from Maya Angelou, her mentor. Success is when preparation meets opportunity. So you have to prepare before the opportunity shows up. You have to be prudent. You have to be diligent. Another one of my primary mentor, Brian Tracy, taught me, right? You have to measure twice, but cut once. So you have to plan before you execute. Don't just react, but respond. And response comes with planning, right? Because they said 1 hour of planning will save you more than or up to 10 hours of execution. So take the time to plan, to prepare, and then execute. Don't just react, but respond. Be diligent. So how do you apply this? Conduct regular risk assessment. That's not just in cybersecurity or technology, but in life, in leadership in general, right? Assess first. Invest in prevention, not just in response. I believe it was one of our founding fathers, right? Who said that what is it? An ounce of cure is better than a pound. No, and sorry, an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. And that is so true. Benjamin Franklin is one who says that. Better spend your resources to prevent something from happening than having to go through the challenge and the difficulties of whatever that risk was and then having to fix it. Right? Prevention is always better than a response. So prepare your team for scenarios, not just success. All right. So what risk are you ignoring because they are uncomfortable? And are you building resilience or relying on luck? All right. The anchor reflection here is foresight is one of the clearest markers of mature leadership. And I feel like throughout my life, my career, right? Usually, when you start in a profession, you're very tactical, right? Very hands-on, but then you kind of get into the operational space, where it's not just one specific area, but several area at once, and you kind of have to keep an eye over operation across different discipline or function. But eventually, you want to get to the leadership layer where you are thinking ahead, no, not just taking care of what's happening right now, putting away fires, but what is going to happen tomorrow, next year, 5 years from now. Like back in 2019, right? For example, when I was very much interested in artificial intelligence. It wasn't very hard back then, but I knew it was going to become big. I didn't know how big it was going to be and how big it actually became. But I actually joined a company directly where they use artificial intelligence and machine learning for customer support automation. And part of the reason why I wanted that role was to really learn about artificial intelligence. And I'm so glad I did that because now in 2022, 23, right, artificial intelligence just exploded. And now it's pretty much disrupting every single industry we know of. So that's really foresight, that's strategy, that is leadership. You need to get to a point where you can think around the corner, preparing your people today for what's going to happen tomorrow. All right. So leadership lesson number 4, discipline shapes future outcome. That's based on verse 6. Discipline shapes future outcome.
Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it.
Train them in the way they should go. So you train them now to prepare them for the future. Discipline shapes future outcome. So leadership is generational. What you model, teach, and reinforce today shapes tomorrow's leaders. So same thing when it comes to parenting. My wife and I, we have 2 daughters. I found out pretty quickly when my first daughter was born that kids don't care what you say. They don't follow anything you say, but they will do what you do. Okay. They will follow your model. They will follow what you do, not just what you say. So invest intentionally in mentorship, build systems that reinforce value, and lead consistently. People learn more from pattern than speeches. Sometimes leadership is really caught and not taught. Right? People don't always listen to what you say, but they will always watch what you do and model after you. So be consistent. And some of the best leaders I've ever worked for, even though sometimes they are tough, they are very high standard, but they are always fair and they always consistent. They treat everybody exactly the same. Okay, these are the standard. If you meet and exceed those, you get rewarded, and if you don't, you will not. No, very clear, very consistent. You know exactly where they stand every single time. If you have a leader that keep changing their mind, you have no idea where they stand. That's going to be very, very hard to work for them to know what to expect. And again, if you look at a family environment, children, they love that too. They love that consistency. I know where my mom and my mother and my dad stand, right? I can count on what they say and do. If they say this and I do it, great. And if I don't do it, then I will get whatever punishment, right? Their word means something. They are consistent. That is such a foundation for leadership. So what leadership habits are you passing on? And who are you deliberately developing right now? So the anchor reflection here is leaders don't just deliver result, but they develop successor. There is no leadership without succession. There is no success without succession. So as a leader, you really need to think about developing other leaders because as I've said before, your rank is rented. You're not going to be the director, the vice president, the CEO forever. A time will come where you are going to have to leave the post. You're going to retire, you're going to find another job, or they're going to push you out. Whatever the case, you will not be in that position forever. So you need to develop other leaders. Again, the 5 level of leadership, I highly recommend this book. Level number 1 is position leadership. That's the lowest level possible, where people follow you just because of your position. They are afraid they are going to get fired. They do what you say because they want the paycheck. And position leadership is a great place to visit, but you wouldn't want to live there, right? Where you want to eventually end up is at level 5, the pinnacle. That's the highest leadership accomplishment. That's developing other leaders to level 4. And level 4 is people development, right? Helping individual leaders go extend your influence and impact. So you want to be the person who's going to lead other leaders. If somebody calls you a leader of leaders, that's probably one of the greatest compliment anybody has ever told me. Because what that means is you are not just an influencer. You just have a bunch of people following you, but you have leaders who are following you. So you are developing leaders who, in turn, are going to develop other leaders. That is very, very, very powerful. And eventually, I think in your leadership journey, that's really where you want to be at the pinnacle, where you are the leader of leaders who develop other leaders. You add value to leaders who then multiply that value and add values to other leaders. So powerful. And my primary mentor, Dr. John C. Maxwell, really models that so well. It's incredible. That's really, I think, that's the essence of leadership. So leaders don't just deliver result, but they deliver successor. Who are you mentoring? Who will be your successor? Who are you pouring your life into? Who are you preparing for leadership tomorrow? Because every leader needs to have at least one mentee. All right, leadership lesson number 5. Wealth without wisdom is a trap. Let's read verse 7.
The rich rules over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender.
The borrower is servant to the lender. Financial stewardship reflects leadership maturity. Dependence, whether financial, political, or operational, limits freedom and influence. So lead with fiscal responsibility, avoid decisions that create unhealthy dependence, and build sustainable, ethical system. So where might short-term gain be costing long-term freedom? And are you leading with stewardship or entitlement? Because true leadership independence is built on wise stewardship. Leadership lesson number 6. Words shape culture and outcome. Let's read verse 11.
He who loves purity of heart and has grace on his lips, the king will be his friend.
The king will be his friend. Words shape culture and outcome. Clean motives and thoughtful words build access and influence. Leaders set culture through tone, truth, and consistency. So, not just what you say, but how you say it. And not just what you say, but why you say it. There's another book that has been recommended time and time over again on my Leadership and Success podcast. That's Start With Why by Simon Sinek. Because sometimes it's not just what you are doing or saying, but what is the motivation? Why are you saying it and why are you doing it? Right? So your tone and what you are saying and being consistent, being aligned with your core value, being aligned with what you value, what you think, how you feel, and what you do. So speak with clarity and purpose, align words with value, and use language to build, not to manipulate. I think there is, once you become pretty good at this leadership stuff and influence, I think there is a thin line between influence and manipulation. I wrote an article about that a while back. You can read it. It's under my LinkedIn article in my leadership excellence and accountability, devotion. But I think the difference comes to the point where when you are influencing people, it's for their own good, for the good of the organization. But when you manipulate them, it is for your own benefit. And that can be quite dangerous. And you need to know the difference and always have good motives. That's why motivation is so important, your intent. Okay. Do your words inspire trust or uncertainty? And are your motives transparent to your team? So the anchor reflection here is leadership credibility is amplified through authentic communication. All right. The final lesson today, leadership lesson number 7. Wisdom must be internalized, not memorized. Okay. Internalize wisdom, don't memorize it. So we're going to read verses 17, 18, and 19.
Incline your ear and hear the words of the wise, and apply your heart to my knowledge. For it is a pleasant thing if you keep them within you. Let them all be fixed upon your lips, so that your trust may be in the Lord. I have instructed you today, even you.
I have instructed you today. Wisdom must be internalized, not memorized. Because wisdom is not about information, but it's about transformation. Leaders grow when truth moves from the head to the heart. Right? It's not just what you are hearing, but you executing on what you know. Right? Because success is not just about knowledge. Many people have so much knowledge. They know so many things, but they don't actually do what they know. It's when you do some things that you actually know it. And many times when I talk about leadership principles, some people will tell me, oh, I already know that. Well, the truth is, if you knew that, you would be doing it. But if you don't do it yet, that means you don't know it. You are maybe aware of it. It's in your head, but it's not in your heart yet, right? It's not just about listening to the word and to the wisdom, but it's actually putting it into practice. That is really what matters. All right. So how do we apply this? So create time for reflection, not just execution, and apply wisdom intentionally. And I love to journal, reflect about the things that you know, and teach principle, not just procedure. And another thing that has helped me throughout my life is I get to really learn things when I teach them, not just because I know it. Because knowing it is kind of, I have a pretty good knowledge of it, but I don't really know it until I study it because I need to teach it to somebody else. That's one of the way where I've really learned things throughout my career by becoming a teacher, because you really get a grasp of the content. So, what wisdom are you hearing but not applying? And how are you reinforcing learning through action? Again, it's not just what you know, but it's what you do. Right? Faith without work is dead. It's not just knowing, but it's doing as well, in alignment with what you know, in alignment with your core values. All right. So leadership wisdom becomes powerful only when it's lived out. All right. So Proverbs chapter 22 reminds us that legacy is not accidental, right? It is shaped through character, humility, foresight, discipline, stewardship, and intentional mentorship. That's how you build legacy. Leaders who govern themselves wisely build organization and people that endure beyond their own leadership season. There are so many great leaders, like Colin Powell is one of them. He is no longer with us, but the things that he has taught in his book, right, My American Journey, and this other book, it worked for me. Those lessons people can still apply today. You can still be mentored by him, even though he is no longer there. He is no longer the 4-star general, chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff or Secretary of State of the United States. But beyond this title, beyond this experience, his legacy endures even today, and that's powerful. And that's the type of leadership I am aspiring to. And hopefully, we are learning together. So, let me know which one of the 7 lessons speak the most to you. What are your thoughts and insight on those? But also, any verses I didn't highlight today, let me know what are your wisdom, leadership insight on those. So, I will be back tomorrow for Ancient Wisdom and Leadership Lesson. Tomorrow we're going to do chapter 23. It's going to be January 23. And I hope to get your feedback on that. And later today, in a couple of hours, I will have the great pleasure of having a leadership conversation with Chief Duane Hart. He's a U.S. Navy retired cybersecurity leader, tech visionary, and keynote speaker. We're going to be talking from deck plates to the digital battle space. He's also the best-selling author of CSSP Practice Question, the Cybersecurity Mindset, and Cybersecurity Leadership. I look forward to speaking with him for Season 5, Episode 24 in a couple of hours. And then tomorrow morning, I believe at 6:30 a.m. Pacific time, so 9:30 a.m. Eastern time, I'm going to be speaking to Colonel Thomas Gordon, U.S. Marine Corps retired. He's the best-selling author of Marine Maxim. We're going to be talking about Marine Maxim in action, building character that withstand command. That's going to be tomorrow. And thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in a couple of hours with the live leadership conversation we're going to have with Chief Duane Hart. Hope to see you there. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye for now.
Thank you for tuning in to the Leadership and Success Podcast with your host, Coach BZ. If today's episode added value to your leadership journey, be sure to subscribe, share, and join us again for more wisdom nuggets on how to lead better and achieve greater success. Remember, leadership is the most critical skill of our time. The world will always need leaders to inspire others, drive innovation, and execute meaningful strategy. So why not count yourself among the bold leaders shaping the 21st century? Until next time, stay inspired, stay committed, and keep leading with excellence.